I guess I'm like any other hunter. One of my favorite deer hunts was the first successful hunt that I ever had. And as a kid, you feel like you're played, like no matter what you do, it's never gonna happen. Not knowing that it's because of everything you're doing, not worried about the winds or how you're getting in and out, and you're really shooting your own self in the foot. But because of all that adds to why this is one of my favorite hunts, because this was also the first year that I hunted by myself without my dad. You know, I owe my dad everything. Without him, I never would have got to the woods. But as a kid, you're excited to go hunt without him. So me and Dad made this ground blind, and looking back at it now, it was situated where Dad could probably keep a pretty good eye on me. He wasn't just going to completely turn me loose, but it was my ground blind. We made it in the shop, made it portable, we carried it out to the woods, we set it up, and that was Matt's spot. Gun season came around, a rifle, modern gun, and Dad told me to go hunt on my own. So I head to the woods. Obviously the sun's already coming up. Don't want to get lost walking to the blind because the landscape's so different in the dark through a kid's eyes. So I'm in there late, and I get there and realize I didn't bring a chair. So I spend the whole morning just sitting on my knees, looking up and trying to keep my eyes on the landscape for deer. And I'd get tired, so then I'd sit down. I can't see anything but these blind walls. So I'd sit down for 5 minutes and then get back up for 5 minutes. And this carried on through the morning. Well, I got up one time and looked up, and there was a deer. And I was like, holy crap, like he got in here on me. So I remember like overthinking everything, right? I needed a gun rest. So I'd fabbed me up a gun rest out of some scrap PVC from a project my dad was working on. And I reach over in the corner and I grab that and I get my gun on it. How that deer stood there for all of that, I will never know. But I'm solid, right? I'm feeling good. I squeeze that trigger and that deer drops and gets back on his feet, runs, if I can recall, 2 or 3 big circles, and then he takes off. And I'm just freaking out in the blind because I know I hit that deer. Like, I did this, and I did it on my own. It was a big deal for me. So I go up there and start looking for sign. Now, keep in mind, I've never killed a deer before. Aside from going with Dad to recover some deer that he had shot, I don't really know what I'm looking for. I just know I'm supposed to be looking for sign of this shot. So I'm up there looking, and I can't find anything. I can't find any blood. I can see the leaves all thrashed up where he fell and got back up and was kicking, and leaned up against this tree. And this is a true story. Leaned up against this tree, and I looked down, and I'm like, that deer was standing right here. And then I noticed splinters on the ground. And I'd seen rubs. I knew it was nothing like that. It just looked out of place. And I kind of bend over and look, and that tree is just opened up. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? So I go back to the front side of the tree and look, and there is a perfect hole right in line with where it's blown out on the back. And I'm like, I shot that tree. Like, I hit the tree, but I know I hit the deer. Well, fast forward, I go back to the house and I tell Dad the story, and he's like, son, he starts laughing at me. He's like, man, that happens. Stuff like that's gonna happen in the woods. And I'm like, Dad, no, I'm telling you, I hit that deer. And reluctantly, we went and looked for him, and ended up recovering him. And he had circled back to my dad's stand and fell probably 20 yards from where my dad hunts. And that's when I learned that Dad was keeping a pretty close eye on me, because when we dragged him out, we didn't walk that far and we was walking right by that blind. So that was my first deer ever. It was the first season that I got to hunt on my own. It was out of a blind I killed or made with my dad. So that's one of my favorite hunts.